Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about a non-game design spec. It's Friday Fun Day, so this has nothing to do with game development, but it does have to do with a specification, but it's not for a game. I've talked about how when I play games, I sometimes can't turn off the design part of my brain, so I'll be playing a game and I'll be like, ugh, this UI isn't very good, or I can't believe they put this sound effect in. It doesn't match. Or sometimes even though I'm not very much of an art person, I will occasionally see a piece of art, whether it's a piece of scenery or a creature, and go, really, with all the other things they put in this thing, which doesn't seem to match. In other words, it's thematically inconsistent with the rest of the game. And it's just hard for me to turn that part of my brain off and just enjoy a game. Sometimes I can do it for a TV show or movie. Sometimes I can't. I'll be watching one. I'm like, oh, why did they do this? Why are they having that dialogue? Why is this character acting like this? Why did they use that special effect? Oh my God, it's that Wilhelm scream, or it's that one hawk sound that you hear everywhere. So I consider this to be, once you're a designer and you've done it, you're always going to be a designer. And there's a little part of your brain you can't turn off. Well, if you look back here on top of one of my cabinets, you can see there's a Google Assistant. I own a lot of them. I got one years ago, loved it, ended up buying a lot of them because I like having them everywhere. They're in my office, my home office, they're in the bedroom, they're in the kitchen, they're in the living room. There's even one in the bathroom. I like getting music everywhere. I like asking what the weather is before I get dressed. I like finding out what's on my schedule for the day. I like asking about news. It's just, once you get used to being able to yell into the air, hey, Magic Genie, tell me something. I find myself sometimes doing it in the car and there's nothing in there to respond to me, which I wish there was. But, so I love having these assistants everywhere. But they drive me crazy with their music player. So I started designing a better one. I really hope there's somebody watching from Amazon or Google or whatever to pay attention, because oh my God, there's so much stuff wrong with your music players. So I'm going to talk about things I wish were in a music streaming player, features I wish they had, and then I'll end up with, including some options that I wish was there, but I realize not everybody wants them. And then I ended up with a couple of must-haves. Like, these are hard cutoffs. If I can't do this, I won't use it. So let's start by talking about true randomness. I have a whole video about randomness and how awful it is in a lot of games, and how awful people's understanding of randomness is. But wow, it drives me crazy what this thing thinks is random. If I tell it to just play some music, or play music by an artist, or randomly play one of my playlists, I tend to get the same thing in the same order. It's weird that if I tell it to shuffle a playlist, it gives me the same songs in the same order. Like, it doesn't understand what randomize is. Now, what's strange about that is if I just tell it to play music, like the most generic thing you can ask for, this thing gets stuck in a rut and plays the same 5 to 10 songs as the first song it plays. And I prove this by, I'll grab Robert and go, listen, and I'll tell it to play some music. And I'm like, I've already told him it would be one of these 5 or 6 songs. And yeah, it was. I found a way to shake it out of it by literally asking it to play another song, ask directly for a song or directly for a musician. And then the next time I tell it to play some music, it seems to get knocked out of that. But I shouldn't have to do that. By the way, if I've thumbed up music, it's okay for you to prefer it when I tell you to play music, but that's not all the music I want to hear. That's another problem it has. When it leans towards stuff I've thumbed up, sometimes it leans really hard. The next big problem I have with all of the players, and I've tried all of them. I've tried Google and Alexa and Spotify and Pandora. The biggest problem I have are albums. How music tends to be packaged for, like, I don't know, forever. They don't seem to understand that a lot of albums were designed to be played in order. Whether you're listening to a set of symphonies, whether you're listening to, a lot of 70s stadium rock albums where a bunch of songs that not only were designed to be played in order, sometimes they don't even on the old vinyl have a clear delineation. It's just one song ends and the next one starts up. I can't find a streaming service that seems to understand that. I mean, I would love to be able to say, hey, can you pick a random album from this artist's playlist or from this genre, and then pick that album and then play that album's songs in order. So if I say play some Led Zeppelin, pick a Led Zeppelin album and play it in order. Even more, I would love to be able to make what I call album playlists, where instead of dragging songs to this playlist, you drag albums. And then if you ask it to play at random or you ask it to shuffle it, it will shuffle the album order, but not the song order, which means it will shuffle the albums and then through that random list of albums, play all the songs from each album in order. I can't find anything that does that. I mean, I've tried making song playlists, and unless I play the playlist in order, I cannot get the songs from albums in order. It is incredibly frustrating. It is the most basic fundamental unit of music, and yet nobody seems to understand that. It's baffling to me, actually. There's got to be a reason. I mean, I'm sure someone can tell me in the comments, but there's got to be a monetary reason they do not do that, because otherwise it is one of the most stupidly idiotic oversights I've ever seen in a piece of software in my entire career. And I don't think I'm using hyperbole there. Let's talk more about when I just say, hey, play some music. I wish this device could take context into account. And by context, I mean, what time of day is it? What day of the week is it? Where are we? Because these assistants, you can mark where they are. They know they're in my living room. They know they're in the kitchen. They know they're in the bathroom. And when I play it through my phone, it knows it's in the car. Guess what? I don't want to hear ambient music in the shower. Maybe I could mark that as an option. I don't want to hear hard rock when I'm at my desk. I wish I could mark that as some kind of option. So take that into account. When asking to play music, I wish I could also give it additional qualifiers. Like I could say, hey, I want you to play some music for me. Play some new music. And I could define that. Maybe that means anything in the last 2 years or 5 years. I want to play 80s music. Just play 80s made music. And don't cheat and find an 80s playlist that some other user has made. What I mean is, you have all the albums out there, all the bands, all their data. Play me songs that came out in the 80s. It's really easy. That's an easy ask. By the way, I wish I could further refine when asked to play music. Like I told you, I like Brian Eno. He made rock music and ambient music. I wish I could say, hey, play Brian Eno ambient music. I wish I could do that because even if I could say play music from Brian Eno, it'll mix in as ambient and rock, which may not be what I want. Speaking of options, I wish there were a whole bunch of options on these players. I wish it would prefer songs that I've uploaded, meaning pretty much treat them as if they were thumbed up. And I'll talk about uploaded music in a second. I wish there were options to skip live songs. Sorry, musicians, I kind of would rather hear your studio work over your live work 99% of the time. I wish there was just an option saying if there's a stadium version or a live version and a studio version, I want the studio version. Same things for remastered songs. Sometimes I prefer the most recent mastery of a song, but sometimes I want to go, I like this one. I want you to play the non-remastered versions. Same thing with censored. I almost never want the censored version of the song. I wish there was an option saying skip it. Some do have that. Some have a maturity setting saying if there's a censored and a non-censored version, they'll give you the non-censored one. But it's by no means universal. There are two things about this streaming music player, if someone's going to make it for me, that is a must-have. One, it's got to work on an assistant, preferably the Google assistants. I'm already bought in on them. But it's got to be able to play on an assistant. Maybe if you make it for Alexa or some other assistant, I don't care. But like I said, once I get used to yelling my song requests into the ether and having it respond, I don't want to go back to having to walk over to a device and change it. The other must-have is it's got to be able to allow me to upload my own songs. This is a must-have. I have over 10,000, I may even have more, 10,000 songs. I've got literally hundreds of CDs. So now my CDs are getting old. Some of them I'm having difficulty playing them. I've told you how CDs rot over time. Plus, they're all boxed up now. They're all boxed up and sitting in a closet somewhere. I don't have them out anymore. I don't even think I own a CD player. But I ripped a lot of them and I upload them to whatever streaming service I have. Part of the reason for that is I like the version I have. Another reason, though, is some of the songs I have still aren't available on streaming. For whatever reason, the band or sometimes even the label just doesn't support streaming services. So my private library has songs that still aren't available anywhere. I want to hear them. And like I said earlier, please just go ahead and treat all of my songs in my uploaded library, sorry, the dog, as thumbed up, as automatically thumbed up. And if you want, give an option for people who can turn that off. But think about it this way. Why would I upload a song that I don't want to hear? So if I've uploaded it, just go ahead and treat it as this is a thumbed up song. Don't make me thumbs up 10,000 songs. Anyway, that is my design specification for a better music streaming service app. I wish somebody would make it, or at least explain to me why it's been over a decade and no one's made anything with these, especially that album one. That drives me absolutely bonkers. So, I hope you like this. I hope you realize that A, once you're a designer, you will always design things and it won't necessarily be games. And I hope you see that sometimes it's just fun to think about things that aren't games. So, have a good Friday.